What's up, guys? Rob Taormina, and in light of Comcast taking over the headlines, it's a good time for us to sort of circle back on a conversation we had as part of an interview we did months and months and months ago, earlier part of 2018, where we were debating the topic of the acquisition, or at the time, the potential acquisition of Fox by either Comcast or Disney. And I won out, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you won out by the 0 percentile.
He happened to be right, but this is the first time ever that you were pretty close to being right about something.
Right, pretty fairly often.
Anyway, so all right, ready? I'm going to give you this one. He won this particular point, minuscule point of this debate that we had, but we did share the sort of the main things behind this potential acquisition, and we made certain predictions. They're all actually starting to come true, and our big thing that we were weighing heavy on, and I was leaning heavy towards, was that digital streaming itself, those assets, was really at the center of this acquisition, and we were right. And I think that all of this new stuff that we're seeing in the headlines is proof of that. We're already seeing as much money as was poured into these acquisitions, like Comcast right now buying Sky, the European broadcasters, and then Disney purchasing Fox for that massive sum. As much as that was, there's a ton of money already being committed to content creation for the digital services. Right?
That's going to get into business.
Oh, without a doubt. So if you haven't been paying attention to digital streaming at all, hurry up. Try to just do a crash course of digital streaming, what it is, how you can get there, how local businesses, how big brands can leverage this, because this is absolutely going to be the primary way that consumers consume information. And so you got to be there. These acquisitions, guys, read between the lines, is where it's at. So let's take a look at that sort of debate that Craig and I had months ago, where we were making some of these predictions where, yes, he was right.
Thank you. I appreciate you humbling yourself and admitting that to the world.
Don't let it get to your head.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to the briefing where my friend here, Craig Shukri, and myself, my name is Rob Taormina, we're going to be going over some current news events, whether it be acquisitions or business technology or something happening in the news that's really big, and how it's going to impact marketing, how it's going to impact local businesses. Do these larger decisions really impact the local business? We're going to dissect all of that stuff, and we're just going to bring news to you guys as it happens, and then also give our opinion. So we're going to be true journalists by giving you the news unbiased, and then we're going to follow that up with the bias by giving our opinion.
Very true.
And we have been debating for years, so we're going to basically be bringing our debates to you guys. Sometimes we get along, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're our ideas are mesh perfectly, and other times we're in the opposite direction completely.
Mostly, I always win though.
And mostly he's always wrong. So today, to launch the briefing, of course, we've got to talk about the most talked about thing in the news today, because it's an unprecedented potential acquisition that is sending a very, very big message. So since I know you're a massive fan of this particular space, why don't you be the one to sort of cue us in and let us know, what is this massive potential acquisition?
All right, so I'll give you a quick rundown of kind of the history of this. So you go back a couple months, around maybe December, Disney put in a bid for $52 billion, $54 billion.
You sure? Was it billion dollars?
Billion. Billions and billions.
Billions and billions.
On Fox. Fox assets, including the movies, television division, not Fox News or sports, that's separate, but specifically on the movie and television divisions. Now, Comcast wanted to make the bid on Fox, but Fox was concerned about the regulatory process. So anyway, that deal stood for 6 months. They worked it out with Disney. AT&T Time Warner deal happens, gets passed. Comcast then sees it as an opportunity to come in with a all-cash bid, $65 billion. Gives Disney 5 business days to counter that. So today, Disney counters it with a $71.4 billion bid, which would be split, half stock, half cash.
Now, I remember when the news initially hit back in December that Disney was going to be acquiring or potentially acquiring Fox, when that news headline hit, I remember the big talk was, is it fake news? And everyone was going to like Snopes, right? And to see like, this is not real.
Right,
like,
because
there's no way.
Like Disney buys up a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah. Disney owns everything.
But these were two like big conglomerates coming together.
Right.
They were like, nah, don't believe this nonsense, right?
Right.
And sure enough, here we are today.
Yes.
Now, here's why I think that the jockeying between these two big players, between Comcast and Disney, makes sense. I first want to dissect what is the motive behind Disney versus the motive behind Comcast. And I think there's really one central theme here, and I know we might disagree as far as the priority and the importance and like why everyone's trying to acquire this. Personally, this is the big word of the day: streaming. I think it's all about streaming. I think it's all about OTT video market services, and this deal is about that. That is at the center of this deal. There's been a trend over the past few years. People thought that they had a little bit more time maybe to develop and establish their own streaming services. I think the market has adjusted very quickly and has progressed, and I think more people are streaming than they thought today in what is this, Q2 in 2018, because of this thing right here. And Netflix and Amazon have taken off. I think Amazon has 100 or so million subscribers. Netflix is right around there, if not too far behind. And then the third big player, which is the reason I think people like Disney and Comcast are going after Fox for this acquisition, it's Hulu. That's my opinion. I think Hulu is at their centerpiece of this deal, and it benefits both Disney and Comcast in different ways.
So as much as I wanted this deal to be about X-Men going to Marvel, I will.
And it is. I mean, it is a little bit, but that's not the main thing.
So I'll concede to your point of streaming. I don't necessarily know that I believe yet that it's strictly for Hulu. I think it was more a play on all of the assets, so they'd have more and more diversity in assets to create their own streaming service. Because that's actually why Fox initially said it was going to sell, because it cannot keep up with this changing times of everything going to streaming. And I think Disney needed that Fox assets to, diversify the company so they have more to then launch.
You're hitting on a reason why I think Disney's ultimately going to win this bid, because as valuable as Comcast might be, and as much Comcast might be able to raise to be able to make this acquisition, I don't think ultimately they have the necessary infrastructure to make this deal really, reach its full potential. Disney, however, is not just a distributor, which primarily that's what Comcast is. I know they might have some other.
They have Universal.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like they might have some assets, but they're primarily a distribution channel. Disney's not just a distribution channel. They have a massive content library now, right? I mean, within the past few years, right? This is the big thing. Disney acquires everything, right? Like, what are the sort of things that Disney acquires?
They got Pixar. That was 2006. Marvel 2009. Then Lucasfilm, which is Star Wars, Indiana Jones. That was 2012.
Right. So they have this massive content library. They do have distribution channels. They're continuing to build out those channels. They know. In fact, I'm pretty sure I read this somewhere that Iger literally said that like his top priority is digital streaming.
Yeah, because he sees the writing on the wall that that's where everything is starting to go. That's why I also think Comcast and all these other companies are like desperate to bid on these other companies, because they need that in order to compete.
Yeah, I have been doing some work with Hulu, and over the past year, I know that Hulu's subscription rate has increased by, I think it's about 40%. And there's an incredible pull that they're getting they're not pulling subscribers from other digital services. Right. They're pulling subscribers from cable subscription services. And this is, it tells me cable is gone. I mean, if you're a business and you are in the space where you're relying on cable TV, whether it be your production company and you're producing only things for cable TV, whether you are in any type of field of work that you help out in that space, You need to be finding ways to monetize your work in the digital streaming space, because cable TV is gone. In my opinion, it's gone. It's already gone, and there's a few subscribers left that these companies are hanging on by a thread. But ultimately, everyone is going from these cable providers to streaming services. And Amazon has done an amazing job. Netflix, amazing job. And now you enter Hulu. I think they were formed in like 2007. And what's weird about Hulu, unlike some of these other companies, is that they're owned currently by a lot of big players.
Right. And that was 2007. So that means people have been thinking about this for a long time now.
That's actually a really good point. That's a great point. So Fox enters the picture, Time Warner enters the picture, Comcast even owns some, Disney owns some. Like, they all entered that a while ago. That's actually a really great point. But what's weird is that there's been no like primary chef in the kitchen. It's been a lot of big players, and yet they still have been able to be successful to a point. And here's something that's really interesting about Hulu. They're not a profitable company. Last year they lost a lot of money.
Is it because they have to divvy it out?
No, is because they have increased their cost internally. So in order to compete with the likes of Amazon and Netflix, Amazon and Netflix are spending billions. I think it's between the two. I think between $5 and $8 billion each on creating new content, on producing shows, on distribution, things like that. So in order for you to sort of, at the very least, keep pace with Amazon and Netflix, Hulu had to spend a lot of money, billions. And that increase, that spent of billions of dollars, is what unfortunately resulted in them not being a profitable company and losing a lot of money. However, what Hulu has that no one else has in the streaming world is they have a show that is the first digital show to actually win an Emmy.
Yes.
That is a big deal. So, like, I don't even know this offhand, you might. What are some of the shows? We're talking about content. Now we're talking about subscribers. Let's shift now to content, because content has always been key, right? From the beginning of when we've been intentional about advertising. Content is always king. So let's not talk about subscription. Let's not talk about technology. Let's talk about literally assets. What are some of the shows, some of the content that Hulu brings to the table that whoever acquires this are now going to own those shows?
So I don't know a ton about their original stuff as I do about Netflix originals. Off the top of my head, I know they have Handmaid's Tale, which is the one that won the Emmy.
Right.
They have a Marvel show, actually, which Disney. Runaways, which did really well. I think they have something called The Path on there as well. But
the point is they have their own content
and it's
as well.
Quality content, though, so that's where the money went into quality stuff that rivals like movies almost at this point.
Yeah, what people don't realize, Hulu last year, 2017, they spent over $2 billion in creating new content.
And it's better, honestly, it is way better than stuff you'd see on cable, too.
I agree.
Quality is so much better.
I totally agree. So, again, whoever acquires Fox gets the percentage that Fox owns, and let's help people sort of understand this, is Fox currently owns 30%.
Right.
Disney also owns 30%.
Right.
Comcast owns less than that. However, whoever acquires Fox overnight becomes a majority shareholder. Because if Disney owns it, it's going to be the 30 plus 30. They're going to have 60%. They're going to be the majority. Comcast, with what they own now, plus the 30, would also equal a majority. That's why, for me, Hulu is the centerpiece of this. Hulu represents the trend, which is going to digital streaming, represents these OTT video services. Hulu represents finally Comcast, who really does not own any type of streaming. They tried it a few years ago. I forget what it was called, but they tried to enter it a few years ago. Within 2 years, they literally shut it down because they failed.
A lot of these companies are doing that, and it's not.
Yeah, and it's not working out. Right. So Hulu represents a proof of concept. They have infrastructure, they have technology, they have subscriptions, right? Subscribers, they've got content. That's why, for me, Hulu's at the centerpiece, and because Hulu is the centerpiece of this deal, it tells me now as a marketer and an advertiser where we should be spending a lot of attention in our strategies. And this is where it does impact local businesses. Local businesses over the years have shifted, right? We've done print, we've done radio, we've done TV. and we've done all of these various shifts, direct mail, and then enter the internet age of email marketing and SEO and website and now social media. And I think there's this major shift going on right now. And if you are a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are a manager or you make the decisions for your business, I think that this deal is very telling that you need to also pay attention to streaming. Because streaming is going to present an opportunity for you to brand your product or service to the masses, right? This is
100%.
because advertising boils down to this, right? You want to advertise where the audience is consuming content, right? This is why in the beginning, when Snapchat became big, all the advertisers were trying to figure out Snapchat, and why I think Snapchat, I said this back then, was going to fail, and I think it's trending in that direction because they didn't monetize it properly, is wherever the audience is, that's where you want to be. This, for me, is a very big tell, is where the audience is going to be.
Not even to mention, though, if the Walt Disney Company was concerned about Netflix, like that's telling you something. They were so concerned about Netflix that they made this Fox deal so that they could compete with Netflix. That's Disney.
Right.
That's been around forever.
Right.
So that's how important streaming is. That they were concerned and felt almost maybe a little threatened by Netflix that they had to jump into this.
Right.
So
yeah. And here's another like big tip, a big for me a takeaway, and like what I'm spending time in. For the past year, I've been spending time in the connected TV space. You can Google terms like OTT, over-the-top services. I've been in that space. I've been talking and negotiating with different providers. I've been advertising in that space to just get at least an elementary understanding of this stuff. I've done it now on behalf of some of my clients. It is also cheap. Anything that starts, for the most part, it's going to be cheap to enter. And you always have to put that in relative terms, but it is fairly inexpensive to you right now. Enter that space. Just like when Facebook first opened up advertising, I'm telling you, I was telling everyone, please, you have to invest. Advertising on Facebook it's super cheap. What happened? Right. And then it got more expensive. Right. $5 was able to reach 2,000-3,000 people. Now $5 reaches 4, 5, 6, 700 people. That's just the name of the game. Right now, also, it's fairly easy, and it's also an inexpensive way to get involved. And I think that businesses and everyone should really be paying attention to Hulu here. Pay attention to the stocks too. Even just with the talk of these potential acquisitions, I know today, when we're filming this today, the stocks for everything, Disney went up, Fox went up, Comcast went up. So all these things are going up, and I think that's another fairly big tell what's going on here. Ultimately, though, my opinion, at the end of the day, I think Disney's going to win out. I might be proven wrong, and this show that we're filming, I might get a lot of comments, and you guys be like, "You're an idiot, you were wrong." But I think Disney's going to win out on this one, like they have in the past. I think they've got the infrastructure. I think they've got the deeper pockets. Right. I think they got more to offer too. I think that the combo of cash and stock is attractive, even though that the cash offering is going to result in a big tax bill for the what the heck are their names? For Fox, the Murdoch family. Yep. But I do think that ultimately Disney's going to make out on this. And before we close, I want to talk about how does Hulu benefit Disney more than what we just talked about. We know streaming is the direction, but we were talking about this earlier, that there are sort of two sides that people are taking when it comes to if Disney acquires this. And I'm under one side that I'm in favor of it. I'm excited about this. I feel like everything that Disney does is like perfect. They do things with excellence. Anything they touch turns to gold. I mean, just look at what they already have been able to do with the Marvel franchise, with the Star Wars franchise. I mean, they're already turning a profit on those, and those are acquisitions that are not too long ago. So I think anything Disney does, I think they've got good leadership. They're smart people, and they do well. So I'm leaning towards yes, I'm in favor of it. But you were actually saying something a little bit different, that there's some people that are resisting this.
Right. Well, I'm personally on your side with this. I think it'd be a great
I won you over. You drank my Kool-Aid.
Yes. But yeah,
I could be persuasive.
Yeah, there is a population of the movie-going and TV viewing audiences that are concerned because they are afraid that, Fox puts out a little bit more edgy content a little bit more original, where Disney's more branded and big blockbuster, and people are concerned that it's going to limit that like market for these more unique films, maybe more R-rated films, and that everything is going to shift over to Fox and get like Disney-fied or lost by the wayside.
What's funny is that like I look at that as a good thing. Some people look at that as a bad thing.
Right. I mean, I don't think that's what they're going to do, though. I don't think that's their play. I think they're getting this specifically so that they could branch out into different areas.
Yeah, I think that they're also going to use it as an opportunity, and I think you were sort of alluding to this, is to sort of like clean up the categorization of some of their of their content.
Right.
You can't deny the fact that there's an adult audience that wants more edgier stuff that cannot be mixed in with some of the more family-oriented content that Disney has.
Right.
There's just no room for those two things.
You can't have Deadpool opening with the cast.
No, there's no way. So, the answer is not to just eliminate it or to, as you were saying, Disney-fy it, and maybe make it a little bit more family-oriented. All right, let's acknowledge there's an edgier audience, there's a more family-oriented audience, right? And that's what also, in my opinion, Hulu gives as an asset to Disney, is that there's, instead of rebranding it or changing it, I think they're going to keep Hulu as an entity the way you see it now.
Right.
And I think they're going to take all of their edgier content, and that's where they're going to make it available. They're going to clean it up and clean up how to categorize things. And family stuff is going to be in one type of distribution channel, and the edgier stuff is going to be Hulu as their different distribution channel. And ultimately, I think that creates better user experiences. So I think it's better, ultimately.
I agree with you. I originally thought that Disney might do it all within one app, kind of divided into the more adult themes and then the kids. But what you're saying with Hulu makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, and not to necessarily ring the greedy bell, but they also make more money that way.
True.
Because now you can double dip, because you can get a family who wants both, right? You got the mom and the dad who wants edgier content, but they also want the family stuff, and now they're going to have two different subscriptions. And, as a family guy, like I have young kids, my wife and I, we like some of the edgier content, some of the and when I say edgier, I don't mean like X-rated things. Right. Like let's clarify that for a second. I'm just talking about things that you don't necessarily want your 2 or 3-year-old to be showing, or you don't want to sit down and be watching Baby Einsteins all the time with your wife. So that's what I'm talking about when I say edgier. And but I'm okay with that, because now I can sit down with my kids, and this is a true experience, and moms and dads, don't deny this. I don't mind now giving the control to my children to be able to navigate.
That's a good point.
Now they can navigate, and I don't have to worry what they're going to see as they toggle through.
Yeah, true.
And that's why different subscriptions, as a parent, I'm okay with. I'll spend maybe the extra couple $100. I'm not even that's per year, but it's really going to be a couple dollars per month.
So you're in that cable mode.
I'm in the cable mode, right? So listen, I spend a fortune in cable.
Right. It's ridiculous.
It's so stupid. Listen, as a marketer, I'm always experimenting, so I have a lot of different tech. So I've got cable, I've got Hulu, I've got Netflix, I've got Amazon Prime. Like, I do that as a marketer because I have to be aware of this stuff and using it. And the price differential, I'm going to be honest, Hulu plus Netflix plus Amazon combined is still cheaper than my one cable bill.
Yeah. And then you got to sit through 20 minutes of commercials. Where I go on Hulu and I watch the show, I see a 1-minute ad, and then I get to see whatever I want.
Users want that. A user would rather have to watch a 2.5-minute long commercial straight than to watch these segments of 15 seconds here, 30 seconds there, to break it up into 4 or 5 different advertising segments. It's ridiculous. Another thing that Hulu, by the way, shared this with me, that they've tested with they have various case studies, and they did very small groups with, is that they found that viewers are able to now watch shows longer. So all right, so let's say there's an hour show. It's technically not an hour produced show though, right? Because on cable, it's going to be broken up into these segments where there's I think it's 12 to 17 minutes of commercials. Right. So what this new digital streaming experience offers now to people producing shows, now a show that an hour show is really going to be 42 minutes. Right. Because it's only a 2.5-minute commercial the user has to watch, they can produce a longer length show, which give better quality content. There's no compromising in the story. Now, I'm getting more technical. This might not be things that you guys are interested in, but like when you are scripting and you're writing a show, it's sometimes hard to write a show because you have to like chop out parts of the story.
Right, you gotta be cognizant of, all right, commercials here.
Exactly. Like, so when you're like for example, like when you're filming a show for TV and you know, all right, this is an hour show, technically we've got 42 minutes that we have to produce.
Right.
As a script writer or as a director, and then when you're in post, to edit that down becomes more difficult.
Right.
Now, you've just earned back like 12 minutes of time that you can add to your show. That makes the storyline much deeper, more complete.
Yeah.
So it benefits it benefits both the production companies, but also the user, because now the user's seeing a better show, and this is reflective in users. They're saying the shows are better. Well, duh, because I have a more complete show now.
True.
It's a great show.
Yes.
So I think I know from the very beginning it was very passionate about this point, but I think that as much as there is that Fox is offering into the table, because there's other things we didn't even talk about today, like Star Network, like what's that other one? Sky. Right? These are European shows in National Geographic, right? So I think Star has something like 680 million subscribers. In India, I think Sky has something like 40 million, something like that. It's big numbers. Yeah. So these are also assets that whoever acquires Fox in this deal are going to have. So there's more than just Hulu with their, right now they have their 20 million domestic subscribers. But for me, Hulu's at the center of it because it's all about digital streaming. The next 5 years are going to be a very interesting evolution as you see probably the vast majority of content is going to be consumed via streaming.
And I think you're going to see more of these companies, bigger companies, buying up other companies too.
I
in
agree.
order to compete.
I agree. I think, there's going to be less players and more big players.
Right.
I think historically, and that has always sort of happened, and we're at a place where this is happening again. And Disney. I have a tendency, by the way, to put two syllables. Disney, 3 syllables, right. 3 syllables rather. But I think Disney is leading the charge, making a great example here of consolidation of businesses to create better experiences for consumers ultimately. And I think the tell is digital streaming. Digital streaming. I can't say it enough. So this particular briefing was about the acquisition of Fox. I think that the current levels that they're bidding, I think it's going to go higher, actually. So whenever you guys are viewing this, if this is like post-acquisition, comment below. You guys can start your own little like thread of conversations. But like currently, what was the bid again? Currently with
71 billion. 71 point something.
Right. So Disney just outbid Comcast. Now they're up to 71 billion. I honestly think it's going to go up.
Right.
I think we should.
Will it be stock? Though I think
good question.
They have to kick in some stock in order.
Good question. I think that we're going to see numbers closer to 100 billion. Really? I know it sounds crazy. I think it's going to get closer to 100 billion.
I think upwards of 80. I don't think it could go further than that. I don't see how it could go further than that.
That's
one of them
how.
has to bow out at that point.
But that's how pivotal this acquisition is for both companies.
Right.
Disney acquires Fox, gets this streaming, right? They become one of the top 3 in the world. Amazon, Netflix,
True.
Disney now, right?
True.
Comcast doesn't. This is why this deal is more important for Comcast than it is for Disney.
Yes.
Disney's not going anywhere. They're still going to be around even if they don't acquire Fox.
Right.
However, Comcast, if they don't acquire Fox in this deal,
they don't have enough.
They're in trouble.
They don't have enough content for it.
They don't have enough moving forward.
Right.
That's why I think their president is pushing and was willing to spread themselves a little thin to make this deal happen. Because without this deal, I think the company is not going to be able to compete at all moving forward. Because they don't have the infrastructure and they don't have the technology and they don't have the assets in order to compete in this space. So if Comcast doesn't acquire Fox in this deal and get these assets, I think that similar to other cable providers that are barely hanging on by a thread, just pull the plug already. you're making a few dollars off of a few subscribers that are going to end up going to streaming anyway. So either get acquired, develop your own streaming service, or pull the plug already, because the industry has spoken, especially with this potential deal. Streaming is here to stay, and it is the future.
Agreed. Although I'm clearly biased. I wanted to go to Disney, but we'll see what happens.
I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be Disney through and through.
Right.
And I do think, like I've already sort of said, that I think it's going to be closer to $100 billion acquisition versus the current marks of the low 70s right now. But I think at the end of the day, I think Disney's going to acquire this. They're going to not Disneyfy everything, but they are going to make everything just perfect as perfect can be, and do things with excellence. And I think it's going to benefit ultimately the consumer, and it creates a better experience for everyone.
So I think we should make a wager. You're saying closer to 100. I think closer to mid 80s with this deal.
Oh, you want to take? I'll take the bet. Let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Let's do it.
Fine. I'm saying, listen, I'm not going to say it's going to be necessarily like 100 on the mark, but closer to. I'll definitely say 90s.
I think 80 to 85, but I don't think it goes higher.
All right, I'll take that bet.
Let's do it.
Why don't we actually let them also determine like what we win as well?
Sounds good to me. What I win as well.
Please don't make that assumption. That's arrogant.
What you give me when I win.
Yeah, whatever.
Also,
Also, comment what you think it's going to end up at. Who do you think is going to win the bid? And also, what do you think that final bid? Yeah, whatever. What do you think that final bid is going to be? Let's see if it's in line with what we're guessing. Right. But ultimately, it's going to be Disney, guys. It's going to be a big bid. It's going to be a crazy historical bid, and I think it's going to benefit everyone. I think this consolidation of resources, consolidation of businesses, it's happened in the past. We're not in an unprecedented time. This is the first time this is ever, is happening. This happens throughout history. We're going to see a consolidation. I think it's going to benefit the consumer market. I'm looking forward to it. I've drank the Kool-Aid. I think it's going to be Disney. I think it's going to be great.
Same. X-Men.
So guys, thanks for tuning into our briefing, our first episode of the briefing. Definitely like, comment, share, but most important, subscribe so that you can definitely join us in future episodes of the briefing. In this channel, we also have other shows that we do, like Don't Fear Grit, where we talk about marketing strategies and advertising technologies to help businesses build healthier, bigger businesses. So join us there. Guys, until next time, I'm Rob Taormina.
I'm Craig.
And this is The Briefing.